back. Welcome to the Convo Couch, ladies and gentlemen. I am Pasta Jardula.
And I'm Fiorella.
And Johnny Sue is on those ones and twos. And I believe that Ungie out there strumming that guitar in the middle of a song said, Johnny on the ones and twos is here, ladies and gentlemen, because he was working the room. He was working the convention. The Convo Couch was on spot, running around doing what we do. Weren't we, fam?
We were. We were right front and center of the convention, literally. And we saw many progressives there, many of our friends, both Tulsi supporters and Bernie supporters. They're showing up for their candidates. And of course, we saw the Pete Buttigieg dancers that we all love, and the Elizabeth Warren and the Kamala Harris shouting, "It's time for a woman in the White House." And, you know, the usual centrist neoliberal establishment types. But what was most amazing about this was the presence that Bernie had. It was awesome. Oh, and I saw a lot of Yang.
A lot of Yang Gang people.
Yang Gangs were there.
People. Hopefully, didn't see his press conference because that wasn't so great. But
well, yeah, we'll talk about that. I asked him a question and I thought he really didn't answer it. So, yeah. But fam, what was your favorite part of the convention?
The press conference.
The press conference. Yeah,
I mean, really, to tell you the truth, I had that kind of pressure. Like, okay, we're here. We got the equipment. We got the crew. Like, what are we gonna go out there and get? What's juicy out there? Adam Schiff for brains hides from us, so we couldn't get a hold of him. I didn't want to speak to Maxine Waters because she just told me I would be an Obama hater. But either way, you know, the press conference was the funnest part. It really made the weekend worthwhile.
Yeah.
Thank you, Antonio T, for the super chat contribution, as it is always appreciated on the couch. Y'all did a great job at the CADEM. Awesome work, and we got a lot of stuff to show, man, because I got to say this, fam, we dominated that press conference.
We did.
Yes.
So we were there with the CBS, CNN, Fox News, mainstream media, NBC. But what was really interesting was that a lot of the journalists that were there are to the left of the general public. Like they were actually good. Like there was the woman sitting to my left, and she was very much a Bernie supporter, and we were all talking about why we support Bernie. And then the people to on the right were all students, and they were Bernie supporters. Some of them, not all of them, but even the CBS guy asked a question on the coup, and it was good. It was awesome. I feel like the press is generally trying to go in the right direction. Now CNN, of course, is CNN, but we asked more questions than any of the mainstream media outlets, which is really interesting that we were able to do that.
Well, the whole thing is that, like, you know, I think we're fairly new to this, and we've been picking up some steam. It was not like the first time, the first convention. Remember we went to in San Diego with Strat, and, you know, Johnny was still at UCF, going to UCF night games, going, "Go Knights!" And we just started on off, and it was kind of like we were getting our sea legs. And it really came to fruition from what we saw at the convention this time. And really, to tell you the truth, you know, I'm a humble guy. I don't like to brag about much except for my cooking and my good looks. But I really think we found our stride there, and I learned a lot, and we learned a lot, and we just had no holds bar, and we got there early. We got set up. We were in the front row, and we really turned that into a real press conference, not a bunch of BS questions. We got a lot of candidates on record for certain things, especially the Bolivia thing, fam. So really, to tell you the truth, I thought it was just an awesome experience, and that press conference made the whole weekend worthwhile.
Absolutely.
And we took no prisoners. For you guys out there who want the real answers and not this, the guys who support us, Elijah Freeman for the super chat contribution, thank you so much, as it is always appreciated on the couch. Said, missed you guys, hit the like button, but that's why we do what we do, and it was really an amazing experience, and I think we got some great footage, and Johnny's been working hard on it.
He has, and you know what, also, like, shout out to, we hung out with media, we hung out with the Real Progressives, Tina Berg and Pat, Peter Douche / Nate Sliver, Pat the Burner, and then they were there also filming the things, and they have clips too, and it's nice seeing like the indie media there. There was a lot of indie media, and the only person that didn't go to the conference, of course, that was there was Bernie Sanders, which is unfortunate that he didn't go.
He avoided
us, but he did. Shut up! No, he did not. He did not avoid us.
I know. I'm just
he was avoiding the probably the mainstream media, but also he went to the caucuses instead.
He did.
And we caught him at I caught Buttigieg being booed at the California Young Democrats, and then he went to the progressive caucuses where we caught Bernie Sanders too addressing the crowd. And I will clip that up later and show it because it's on my phone. But yeah, so let's get started, fam.
Yeah.
So overall, this is my assessment, and I think the majority of the people there. Bernie Sanders destroyed CADEM. I mean, he had the most supporters there. They had been organizing, and this is the Bernie Sanders Metro Squad too, had been organizing how to protest. There's Melissa Michelson, all of the fans there. We have some videos just to show like a little bit of what happened. It was like a mob.
You could hear them in the halls. You could hear them going down. Even so, you know, I've talked to some people who are like,
oh, you can put the sound on for a little bit.
Here we come. Feel the burn.
Who's that?
I believe that's Keith filming. So they walked from where the forum was all the way back and forth, and then you could see them from above the second floor. They were just shouting and dancing, and you know, because initially there had been a lot of Warren supporters and Buttigieg supporters there, kind of just trying to say like, hey, we're here, and then like the burners just flooded in, and it got on KTLA. I know they did a piece on it, and it's nice to see the activism, because as you know, the California Democratic Party is very corrupt. We constantly talk about how corrupt they are, and they needed to see that the Bernie Sanders presence was there, and I think these activists and these organizers achieved that. And also there's Ben Hogg, and also who joined in, the rent control people joined in. The rent is too damn high. They were also shouting, which is in coalition because Bernie Sanders is one of the only candidates that is pushing for rent control.
Is that David Cunningham jumping up there and down right over there? I don't know who that is. That's
Gabriel Ramirez is over there.
Yeah.
Victor Valadares.
Vic V. I love
people
him.
from the
Betty Valencia.
Betty Valencia. People from the Bernie campaign as well joined in.
Wow.
There's
Erica, Miss America.
And
she's awesome.
Awesome Medicare
Dumas.
for all.
Was that Betty Dumas?
Betty's over there. There's also like everybody, all the fans.
All the people.
Tim
There was so many great people there.
Yeah.
TJ, Mr. Revolution himself.
Our Revolution.
Wow.
Yeah, everybody was there. There's Josue from It's Happening. Everybody. And you know what? Like it's really nice to see that happen, because these people really sacrificed a lot of time and energy to be there. So
yes.
that was one thing that I wanted to point out. Another thing I wanted to point out, fam, was how Bernie did in this performance. Now, this was Univision-led forum. So it was a forum, which means that one candidate goes at a time, because if it's a debate, it has to be a completely different thing. Jorge Ramos, who's a neoliberal shill that I can't stand, I grew up watching him, and my family has watched him, and he is extremely like pro-war, pro-imperialist, and Bernie Sanders handled his questions well. If you guys recall, in the last debate, Jorge Ramos was one of the anchors, and he asked Bernie Sanders about Maduro and tried to frame the question in that way. He's also asked Tulsi similar questions, trying to frame her as being like a sort of Russian asset socialist type.
Yeah.
And so this time Bernie was prepared for him. And Bernie, he asked him about Obama's deportation, because the thing Republicans and many independents and many people who just like facts know is that the deportations and the kids in cages started with Barack Obama.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't start with Donald Trump. Now, Donald Trump exacerbated the situation, of course, but Barack Obama led that, and he deported millions of people. So
he also supported people like Debbie Wasserman Schultz, who built detention centers in Florida,
Absolutely.
said it on a debate with Tim Canova. So it was all about Obama. And let me just say one thing about Jorge Ramos. He is a shill, like you said, fam. The stuff he did in Venezuela, that he was lied, and Max Blumenthal caught him to his face. I'll never forget that stuff. But yeah, I think this is some great stuff over here.
So first is the Obama deportation stuff, and then we'll go into Bernie's answer on the Bolivia, whether it was a coup.
So let me ask you now about immigration. You've been talking about immigration recently a lot. At the beginning of this program, I asked Senator Harris about the legacy of President Obama. Many people agree that he did great things for the country. Obamacare, DACA, the Paris Agreement, among many other things.
Yes.
But would you say that he made a mistake by deporting 3 million people?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I didn't hear that. I didn't
Yeah.
hear that.
Well, we were in the
spin room.
We were in the spin room, right?
Yeah.
So it was for us. There was tickets being given away. We could have gone in, but it was more important for us to get these people's questions and catch them and to see how they answer, because that way we can bring it to you guys. Because it's one thing when they're performing over there, but the press were a little bit more difficult than Jorge Ramos. I mean, even the majority of people, the CBS guy, he asked about the coup. So here is Bernie Sanders answering Ramos's question on the coup, and you can see Ramos's face when he says that. Sure.
You know, I think we got issued a citation from the establishment party for abuse on the candidates during the press conference. I think they're going to charge us abuse.
Salazar isn't bad, though.
That will lead to a path towards citizenship.
Mr. Sanders, before you go, I want to ask you a question about Bolivia.
Yes.
You wrote in a tweet that you thought it was a military coup, what happened in Bolivia. Many people have other point of view. They think that Evo Morales had been in power 14 years, that he wanted to fight more, and that he wanted to become a dictator. So what do you think?
No, I don't agree with that assertion. I think Morales did a very good job in alleviating poverty, in giving the indigenous people of Bolivia a voice that they never had before. Now, we can argue about his going for a fourth term, whether that was a wise thing to do.
And the OAS thought it was a fraud, the election on October the 20th.
Some people think that as well. But at the end of the day, it was the military who intervened in that process and asked them to leave. When the military intervenes, Jorge, in my view, that's called a coup.
Senator Sanders, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.
I want to go over that because my mother, I spoke to her on the phone. She had the same assessment like Morales. He probably shouldn't have ran for another term. And I told her, like, the people wanted him to run. But I think his mistake was not having a successor, not having someone to take over. Mm-hmm. Chavez had someone, and she was like, yes, ultimately that was his mistake. And, like, you know, I agree with Bernie here, like the way he handled the situation, because, you know, if he had said, oh, yeah, there was these were fair and free elections. I can understand the line he's kind of teetering on, but some people believe that no, these elections were, we know, all of us, that they were fair, that the OAS lied, that the OAS was intent on cooperating with this. I mean, he's not going into specifics, but I mean, he's in front of Jorge Ramos, in front of all these people. But I mean, for me, who I've been critical of some of Bernie's foreign policy, I think this is great. I think this is the right choice. He's the only one of the presidential candidates to have called this a coup.
Yeah. And we got 4 of them, and we're going to go into that later on, of them on video. This is what the Convo Couch does. We got it on record, so now it's documented. I just want to talk about also, and I want to make another assertion real quick, the fact that one of his biggest mistakes, not only was he not appointing a successor, but he didn't reform the military. He didn't reform the police like Hugo Chavez did, and the Chavistas, and then so on with Maduro. I think that was what a lot of criticism he got when he reformed the military. He also made the citizens part of like a militia. So if anything happens, the citizens take to the street any type of coup, and that was important. And Evo Morales should have done that, and he even mentioned that. But during his tenure, I want to repeat this because this is what Mark Sloboda talked about. Some of the reforms that Evo Morales delivered was during his tenure, he reduced the poverty rate by 42%. Mm-hmm. He reduced extreme poverty by 60%. Income per person was increased by more than double of the Latin American average. The illiteracy rate, dropped from 13% to 2.4%. Okay, that's amazing. Unemployment dropped from 9.2 to 4.1 in half, and it's still one of the fastest growing countries as pertaining to GDP with all that going on. And let's not forget that Evo Morales is the first indigenous leader of Bolivia. And I think, fam, that has a lot to do with it. Once again, we see how some of these oligarchs, some of these fascist people, these people within Bolivia, how they look at some of the indigenous people, like they're cockroaches, they say, and these things that's disgusting, which we've caught in some of their Twitters. Yeah. So that was Evo Morales right there, and nobody talks about that. Yeah. And the OAS is CIA light. Right. Let's not forget that as well.
Technically, yes, this is a CIA-led coup. But
Yeah.
I mean, it's very hard to talk about the CIA when you're a presidential candidate. I mean, it's, you're putting a target on your back. But I have to say too, like when they said things like death to the Pachamama is Quechuan for the Mother Earth. And again, these Native Americans are very, very much in line with that. And so when you're saying you're going to kill Mother Earth, I mean, that you're so far removed from what it is. And I think we need to start paying more attention as to, it's 2019. We are still trying to exterminate indigenous people. Yeah. And just today, there's news of them being killed. Right. And they are dying. And this is not just about a coup, and this isn't just about the CIA. This is about our country having our hands dirty in what happened. Let's not forget that Marco Rubio and Ted Cruz were mentioned in these audio tapes of their plans. So that's the reality.
Now let's get to Maria Estrada, fam, because the last thing, remember, we were at the Rules Committee. The Rules Committee wasn't convening this time, but they had the ADEM committee, the whole board there. Juan Flores is there too as well. Right.
So the ad hoc committee was there. And so basically Maria Estrada gave testimony on Friday. And this was in the morning at the ad hoc committee for ADEMS. This was regarding the fraudulent election conducted in AD 63, which is her district, her assembly district, where Speaker Anthony Rendon, who she ran against, who killed single payer in California.
Where's AD 63?
Assembly District 63.
Yeah, it's Compton.
It's like
right?
Compton, that area. We went to the Mexican restaurant that Maria Estrada grew up in. Right. So it's around that area.
A heavily Latin and minority area.
Yes.
And Anthony Rendon and numerous of the Stella elected officials engaged in election fraud, and they bust in 182 ineligible voters, including Republicans and residents of Orange County, who were allowed to vote. So during this whole thing, Pasta and I were there. They were basically trying to frame it like Maria was wrong, that she was basically trying to be a Republican and demand IDs. And Melissa Michelson went in on there too, talking about her assembly district. And what we saw too in Orange County completely indicates that she's right. I mean, our guy Zach was about to vote and he left in Pasadena because they don't check registrations. So nobody wants to have a Republican type of ID law. It's just as simple as checking your registration, making sure your name is there and that you're in the right district. And so they were trying to frame it like, oh, you guys are trying to be Republicans and blah, blah, blah. And it's like, no, dude, we just don't want you guys to bust people in, because that's what happens. Wendy Carrillo busts people in. Yeah. That's when Tina Burr got punched in the face.
Remember that? Wow.
Yeah.
And let me tell you something. Then they went to their identity politics with the one guy from the Blue Wave in Long Beach, which Blue Wave is the Bernie Sanders kind of people from Long Beach. And wow, did they have a presence there because it was in Long Beach. But they even talked about the inaccuracies in the way it was all kind of set up. They have people in their district that are on, what do you call that, Catalina Island? So for them to come vote that day, $700 just to come vote that day.
That's insane.
You know what I'm saying? And if they had to do it again, how bad? And then also to like we talked about, Cisneros, I believe his name was, attacked him and said, so you don't want Spanish-only speaking people not to vote? That wasn't the thing. What they were doing was they were picking up people, taking them for breakfast and coffee, giving them the literature and directing them how to vote. Yep. I think we also caught one of Maria Estrada's people, and we had it on the show almost a year ago when they were doing these votes, of a Latino lady speaking to a Latino gentleman who obviously didn't know why he was there and was coerced to vote, and they were filling out the form for him, and we caught them red-handed.
I remember that, yeah.
Remember that?
You were filming that, right?
I wasn't filming it. Somebody else was filming that, and they handed us this. We got Porter. That was our big thing, and the voter who could have voted. And then we caught all these other things, these inaccuracies, and how bad it was. Yeah. And, not only that, fam, they were like, well, what do you want us to do? And she was saying simply, just follow your friggin' charter. Yeah. How about that? How about you follow your own friggin' rules? And if you want to know what you should do right now, you should eliminate all those ADEMs, because it's about the speaker holding on to power, grabbing power, and making sure that he gets those endorsements. They let those people vote again on the endorsement, and they should have. Once again, the Democratic Party didn't do anything to uphold justice. They just went away along with their vicious criminal corruption ways.
Yeah, and this is how they maintain power, and it matters. Although assembly delegate, you don't have that much power, but you have the power for endorsements, and then together, when collectively, then you're endorsing people, you're endorsing candidates, and then that makes a huge significance. And it's just on the basis of being fair and having integrity, and they have no integrity. They were like, Maria, what do you want us to do? What do you want us to do? Give us a solution. She was very simple and blunt about it. Just follow the rules. Don't buzz people in. Check people's registration. And Melissa Michelson went on there later talking about how the media wasn't even allowed in there. And I remember Mark Gonzalez kept us from going in there. And not only that, after Tina got punched, was there. They didn't let us go and film inside. And that's not fair, because in Orange County, we were able to film. Yeah. And
we caught a lot of good stuff.
We did.
A. Maris, thank you for the Super Chat contribution. Oh, and really before I talk about that, I'd like to say that during that meeting, Johnny was there, Fiorella was there. We got footage. Maria Estrada acted professional.
Yeah.
She did not lose her shit.
Not at all.
She was really, really cool. She was calm. And the fact that they barred her from the rest of the convention was disgusting, because that's what happened on Saturday, because she also tried to confront the person who lied to the police about what's going on. And we have it on tape. We have it on tape of the guy attacking her, even with a bullhorn. Yeah. It's not cool to get up and put your hands on a woman. And that's what he did. And then, her friend just pushed him away to stop the assault. And once again, they banned Maria for speaking the truth when it came to that.
Absolutely.
Amers, thank you for the Super Chat contribution, as it is always appreciated on the couch. Would you be willing to interview Kimberly Graham, a progressive running to oust John Castration Ernst for Senator in Iowa? It all starts here. Absolutely. Please just give the information. You can send it over to theconvocouch@gmail.com. We are preparing a candidate.
Lot of candidates.
We are getting it all together. We got 9-10 candidates on the board. We're going to try to arrange something and get their grassroots movement out there and let that voice be heard. So thank you for that Super Chat contribution. And Scott McLaughlin, thank you for the Super Chat contribution, as it always appreciated on the couch. That's the same tactics they used at the Las Vegas caucus in 2016.
Oh, yes.
This is normal
I've heard
behavior.
That. Yeah.
So it's great. John, before we get on to the new topic too as well, if you could eventually queue up our video, because I have to run and get battery life upstairs eventually after we go into this. But let Fam talk about this. I'm running low. I'm so sorry. But Fam, next topic. What do you want to talk about?
So I just want to kind of show two pictures of the Bernie rally in East LA. So Bernie had a huge rally in East LA before the convention on Saturday, before he went to the forum. And it was a lot of people, but a lot of people of color. In fact, the majority of the people there were people of color. My friend Stephanie, it was where she went to high school many years ago. And so you can see the crowd there. And the band that was playing endorsed him as well, and they're a very popular local band. And I just wanted to show that, to show nobody really, the mainstream media doesn't show Bernie's rallies. The only time you see these pictures are on Twitter, Facebook, people sharing them to each other, but you're not really seeing that. And the energy there was insane. I mean, the energy at these Bernie rallies is crazy. And I have a few videos I'll be releasing, clips of the people at the rally, but it's the people are very excited about Bernie. They treat him like he's a Beatle. I mean, the way they scream, the way they get excited. Same with the Young Democrats. They endorsed him. They were so excited. Same with the Progressive Caucus. People were screaming when he was there. I mean, nobody else has this kind of momentum. That can't be denied. I mean, that's something that is undeniable at this point. And the Democrats, in my opinion, would be suicidal to not endorse Bernie Sanders as or say that he's one of the top candidates. So, yeah.
I think they'd be suicidal, because they'll just lose the presidency if they cheat him again. And that's the whole thing.
Exactly.
Will they cheat him again? That is the question.
Right.
Man, that presence was so big, too, at the convention. You can hear him going around. You can hear him cheering. And wow, I mean, it was just eye-opening, whatnot, to see that going on. And like you said, there's a lot of diversity at the thing, too. And we noticed that when Tulsi had her town hall, too. It's starting to get more diverse out there.
Yeah, there was definitely diversity,
People are learning of all, credences, natures, everything, every religions, ethnicities. They're learning more and more about Bernie. The news is out there and what he's fighting for. And I think it's going to just be an awesome, awesome, awesome primary.
Here's some footage from the Progressive Caucus.
You can't run away from the power of the insurance industry and the pharmaceutical industry. They are enormously powerful entities. They have ads all over the country right now demonizing Medicare for all, attacking me. But I have absolute confidence that when millions of people stand up and make it clear that the function of a rational healthcare system is not to make $100 billion in profits for the healthcare industry, but to provide quality care for all, we're going to win that fight.
Wow. Yep. I was in there. There's Tina. I was in there filming the
By the
thing.
way, I heard it was Ozone Motley.
Ozone Motley, yes.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Their name escaped me.
Why didn't you tell me that? Because I would have wanted to go see Ozone Motley. You always
Their
hiding stuff
music
from me,
is
fam.
great, fam.
Fam, I know Ozone Motley, baby. I was old school Ozone Motley, man. Like, I used to go see them with my boy DJ Ethos. You know, Ozone Motley. I've seen them a couple times.
Yeah, they love Bernie. They endorse him.
Of course they love Bernie, and that's, they're the old school guys. Okay, so now we got that. Now let's talk about this other thing, because we also got to talk about PDB. I'm not going to say his last name because I'll say it wrong.
Johnny, do we have the clip available of Pete talking about the black endorsements?
Yeah, you want to do your question first, and then it kind of rolls into that?
Yeah. So we interviewed a couple candidates, one of them being Pete Buttigieg, and I asked him a question on his wealthy donors.
That was a press conference.
At the press conference, exactly.
Spin room.
Yeah, exactly. So what happened is he had just gotten back from a fundraiser in Palm Springs. And so I said, hey, you just got back from a fundraiser in Palm Springs. What about your donors? Blah, blah, blah. And then somebody else also asked him about the 400 black South Carolina endorsements that he lied about. And, they didn't ask him about him lying about it, but he continued to lie about it. So let's just play the first one, and then we'll lead into the second.
On the other hand, the other side of the coin is the other side of the Democratic Party is running largely on a progressive platform. You just got back from a fundraiser in Palm Springs. Why should the American people continue to vote for somebody who caters to big donors and big money?
Well, there are a lot of progressives in Palm Springs and every part of California that I have been to. And there are also a lot of moderates and even some people leaving the Republican Party who are embracing our vision for progressive change that's delivered in a way that can unify the American people. We have over 600,000 individual contributors in this campaign. I don't take corporate PAC money, but those 600,000 plus individuals are all part of this movement in order to deliver a better future for this country. And I'm proud to have that kind of support.
Black leaders from South Carolina distanced themselves from your Douglas plan and said that it was very vague when you asked them to endorse it. Can you comment on that?
I understand some of the frustrations about how the rollout went. I will say that we believe that the plan is the right plan going forward, and we'll continue to engage leaders, especially black leaders in South Carolina, who we've been in dialogue with throughout, in order to make sure that we've answered all the questions that we can about the vision going forward and done the right kind of engagement.
You're surging in Iowa, but are we all...
Okay. Are we ready? Okay. So he didn't answer the question. In fact, he went on and double whammied it and said, well, in these fundraisers, there's moderates and Republicans and all these kinds of people, and we are trying to build a progressive coalition, and I don't take corporate PAC money. Bullshit. Like he goes to Wall Street donors. He's backed by CIA. I mean, this guy was lying through his teeth, and he was pretending that he's a progressive, and he had the audacity to tell everybody in that press room that he is a progressive, and that he is, and he framed it with platitudes like, we're just trying to move our country forward. We're just trying to have these progressive values. And he didn't answer why people should trust a guy that's courting billionaires and wealthy elite donors. Okay. Like, how do you go from that? And then on to the second thing. The Intercept did a wonderful article exposing, this is by Ryan Graham, exposing how Pete Buttigieg lied about these 400 endorsements from the African Americans in South Carolina. And they all straight up went up and spoke about how they had not endorsed him. And this was via his the Douglas Plan for Black America. And even one of them was like, oh, I actually support Bernie Sanders. I have no intention of supporting Pete Buttigieg. So when he gave that answer, it was like he didn't even answer, like he didn't even really answer anything. He was just like, yeah, we're gonna reach out to these people, these black caucus members and these black people in our area, and we're gonna continue talking with them. But he couldn't specify anything because he's full of it. He's lying.
Yeah. Well, let me ask the audience a question, because I'm looking at all these things. I'm reading all these things. Going, who is more of a threat to the progressive movement? Elizabeth Warren or PDB? Pete Buttigieg. Did I say it right? No, I didn't. I don't think I said it right. Who's more of a threat to you guys out there, ladies and gentlemen? Mayor Pete or Elizabeth Warren? You tell us which one right now. Because let me tell you something. What do you think? Well, after I might have said Elizabeth Warren because I think she was more disguised. But once again, I think that Pete Buttigieg is. I mean, guys, wait until you see him. The question I asked him to and the answer I got. You talk about platitude salad. And I said it, you're one of only 2 veterans running for president here. What are you going to do day one when it comes to foreign policy? And I got the typical Pete Buttigieg answer. Do you want to show it, or you got it ready?
Give me well, before you do that, I just want to say I still think Elizabeth Warren's the biggest threat because she is hidden, because she is more believable as a progressive than Pete Buttigieg, because she has still higher numbers, because she is the consolation prize to not getting a Bernie Sanders. However, I think Pete Buttigieg is more of a bad faith actor. I think he's absolutely not a good person. Yeah. He seemed really like sociopathic-y, fake. I don't know. Like he just had this whole this energy that I really, really didn't like. I feel like Elizabeth Warren is kind of like can't decide if she's going to be progressive or a centrist, and I feel like Pete Buttigieg is a centrist, and he's campaigning. He's actually a Republican. I feel, and he's campaigning as a progressive, and he has been putting all his money on Iowa, and he's been able to garner some support there because he's coming off as, like I can reach across the aisle and I can be this moderate. But really his foreign policy, his pro-Israel, like anti-Palestinian qualities, his anti-whistleblower like stances on saying that we need to look at what the legislation does and what these agencies do rather than what a whistleblower can do, that is very dangerous. And the fact that he's backed by people like Mark Zuckerberg, hey Mark, and the CIA, to me is
he's got more millionaire donations of funders than anybody out there.
But I don't take corporate PAC money.
Please, he's got more than anybody. They're going to him in droves. A lot of people think, and that's the thing I can't figure out. Is he the distraction to get Warren through, or is Warren the distraction to get him through?
I think it's them.
I mean, it's those two are just like, you can see Alphabet. Now, anybody's taking money from Alphabet. Alphabet is the parent company that owns Google. You're talking CIA to the max over there. And look at everything else there. Walt Disney, Microsoft. Look at these Kaiser Permanente, Wells Fargo.
And
this guy is deep state as can be, man. Facebook, Blackstone Group, University of Notre Dame, U.S. Department of State, all over the place. But let's take a look, fam, because once again, we heard a different candidate answer the same question and get specific answers on this particular question. So I figured I'd give it to Mayor Pete and ask him the same one.
That every day, and I welcome the opportunity to do that work.
Hey, you are one of 2 veterans in the race. What would you do day one, foreign policy-wise, if you were elected president?
Well, the first job of the next president is going to be to restore the credibility of the United States. When we have a president who turns his back on our allies, when you have a president who short-circuits our own military justice system, to block justice for war crimes and accusations of war crimes, that undermines the very foundation of U.S. credibility and honor around the world. So in addition to the specific foreign policy steps we need to take in order to join with allies on counterterrorism efforts and ensure that we have the right kind of trade for the future that's going to serve Americans well and pull together the country to confront climate change, there's a more basic and fundamental effort, and that is to send the message that America is a country that can be trusted. It will be my top priority in relating with our allies, and a message that will also go to our adversaries around the world.
All right, thank you.
Thank you very much.
What was the answer, fam?
Yeah.
What was the freaking
restore the credibility?
Oh.
That was the answer.
We got to restore the credibility. Thank you. Because, I was freaking worried that our credibility running around the world was just so bad when Donald Trump got in there. Like, it was great before that. Like, we were this glistening, shining freaking beacon of justice and hope and democracy before freaking Donald Trump got there. No, Obama didn't do shit. And we asked the same question. Well, we didn't ask the same question, but we got an answer from another candidate by the name of Tulsi Gabbard. She goes, what I'm going to do? I'm going to address the most serious problem we have. We're going to denuclearize, and we're going to sit down with China and Russia, and we're going to work out our grievances to get rid of nuclear weapons. That's a specific answer.
Right.
What Buttigieg did was give you freaking platitude salad, like always. But guess what? We got you on record. You've been exposed, pal.
You've been exposed.
Amor says they are trying to make Pete look tall. Well, I mean.
Well, yeah. Pasta made a joke before.
That was our filmmaker, Michael Stratt.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was our filmmaker.
We tried to help him out a little bit,
He did. No, I mean, yeah, he was very polite, at least. And he also said we need to work with our allies, like specifically only our allies.
Who's our allies?
He should have said our adversaries. Yeah. Our allies are Saudi Arabia and Israel. Are you kidding me?
We got to work with them, fam.
Like how should we? I mean, you should be calling for us to stop funding Israel, who are killing Palestinians. But instead, he took on the latest Gaza strikes. He took the side of Israel once again.
No, of course he did,
and did that. So it's pretty clear Pete Buttigieg did the worst, I think, out of all these candidates, and he's bad news, you guys. Like, he should not be believed. And the fact is, he comes off like a soft man, and he's just polite, and I think some people buy that.
That Johnny. I think Johnny's trying to look up when you ask somebody specifically, and I said the same thing to Castro, and he gave me the platitude friggin' salad about a different question. But here's Tulsi Gabbard. We didn't ask her the question. The reporter next to us was the one good question asked by the mainstream media that day because they asked a bunch of BS questions. But look how she answers the question.
You would make in terms of maybe pulling out of a country, maybe making... Well, the greatest national security and existential threat that we face in this country is the new Cold War and nuclear arms race that's ensuing, with increasing tensions between the United States and nuclear-armed countries like Russia and China. So one of the first things I'll do is call for a summit with these two countries to begin the work, the diplomatic work, to de-escalate these tensions, work out differences that we have, find areas of common interest so that we can make progress towards reducing the numbers of nuclear weapons in the world, putting an end to this nuclear arms race, and making it so that not the American people nor people of any other nation have to live in fear of nuclear war.
Boom.
Yeah.
Boom.
That's a very specific, great answer on that issue. And the thing, they're both veterans, right? They're both veterans. Two very different ways of being a veteran. One is pro-war, pro-CIA. The other one is pro-peace talks, let's talk to our adversaries, not just our allies. Let's find common ground. That is how you do it. That is how you answer that question.
Yeah.
And
that
nice
wasn't
parallel.
that was Tulsi a couple days ago. She wasn't at the CADEM. For somebody said I thought she wasn't at the CADEM, because we did also ask Rusty Hicks on the process they use on choosing people to come to the California Democratic Convention, and from what we found out is that Tulsi wasn't in the first group of invites, and then once Biden, your boy, and Warren decided not to go, then they reached out to Tulsi. By then she said nope, and I'm glad she said nope to them. So let's talk about Biden, because your boy.
Just real quick, I just want to mention that Joe Biden and Elizabeth Warren refused to go to CADEM, and their numbers are actually dropping. But Joe Biden, of course, was an okay boomer this time, because okay boomer isn't about age, it's about lifestyle. And Joe Biden said marijuana is a gateway drug, fam. And he's not going to legalize it federally because he believes it's a gateway drug. That's the kind of bullshit answer that you get from like ignorant family members that don't know what they're talking about. But
it's a gateway drug. It's a gateway drug to pizza. It's a gateway drug to sushi. It's a gateway drug to food. It's a gateway drug to good conversations, to intellectualness. It's a gateway drug. I mean, the Beatles wrote their whole album. It was so terrible on marijuana. It's bad, fam.
No, the Beatles are great. Don't insult the Beatles.
I know, but I'm saying I'm kind of being sarcastic here, because It is not a gateway drug. It's the most ridiculous thing. Are we still living in the
Alcohol
Stone
would be
Ages?
the gateway drug. Alcohol would be that drug. And I want to say, I don't care if you don't like marijuana. I don't care if you don't ingest marijuana or smoke it. I care about the federal legalization of it so we can get people out of jail and stop criminalizing poor black and brown people mainly, but poor people in general for smoking marijuana or for making it something that's illegal. For, let's say I have to go to Florida, like, or Iowa or any other place where it's not legal. It's ridiculous. Like, we need to stop criminalizing people, and the only two candidates that have a strong marijuana legalization plan and to incorporate it into medicine are Bernie Sanders and Tulsi Gabbard.
That's it.
And that's it.
Yeah.
Everybody else wants to either, we'll see what we can do. No.
Bernie Sanders has been there for a long time on this too. A long time. And Tulsi said the other day, I've never smoked. I don't drink. It's not my jam. But if you want to do it, I got no problem whatsoever.
That's important.
Not to mention, it's a space plant, man. You could just if you said that only toilet paper could be made from marijuana or just non-THC marijuana, the hemp plant, you would save so many trees, and we talked to somebody from the Sierra Club, what they're doing to the trees now at an alarming rate. And then our guy Bolsonaro over there, once again, just cutting down and chopping everything down because why? They put Lula in jail. But when it comes to marijuana, I mean, this is old news, fam. I don't even know why we're still having the same discussion. It's just ridiculous. Schultz 100, thank you for the super chat contribution, as it is always appreciated on the couch. He says, and nukes, totally agree. Okay. Big Baby Zubas, thank you so much for the super chat contribution. Says, play the intro video for Fallout 1. Nuff said, fam. Nuff said. That's our man over there.
A lot of people have been asking me, what do you think about Elizabeth Warren's plan? This was happening while we were at the convention, so we obviously didn't do a show on it. And I intend on going fully over her Medicare for All because people were coming at us like, why are you criticizing Warren? She's for Medicare for All.
Oh my
and of
Lord.
course, we told you so, fams. We told a lot of these people, these neo-progressives with their little YouTube shows who have been defending Elizabeth Warren, that they were wrong. And Elizabeth Warren was never going to be for Medicare for All. She was never there. And she completely unveiled it. She completely, fully adopted a public option. And this is what people are going to be like having to swallow their words on because she said that they did a whole Medium article on this, right? And they said, every serious proposal for Medicare for All contemplates a significant transition period. Okay. And then she said, I'm announcing my plan to expand public health care coverage, reduce costs, and improve the quality of care for every family in America. And she said, my plan will be completed in my first term, as if you're going to have a second. It includes dramatic actions to lower drug prices, a Medicare for All option. There it is, option available to everyone that is more generous than any other plan proposed by any other presidential candidate. Are you kidding me? Bernie Sanders, hello. Critical healthcare system reforms to save money and save lives in a full transition. There we go, transition again. Then she keeps going on about what she's going to do in her first 100 days. And then at the end, she says, I will fight to pass a fast-track budget reconciliation legislation to create a true Medicare for All option that's free for tens of millions. And she said she's going to fight for additional healthcare reforms to save money and save lives, including blah, blah, blah. But she says, here, I will fight to pass legislation that would complete the transition to full Medicare for All in her third year. By this point, the American people will have experienced the full benefits of true Medicare for All option. So when you add that word option, here's the thing. It's not even just about the word option. It's about the fact that she's telling you that we're not really going to enforce. It's not going to be in everybody's in system. Everybody's in, you can't opt out. It's not like a private option. This is like a public option. And the difference between this and, let's say, Tulsi Gabbard's healthcare is that this is a public option and hers is a private option. A public option means that you don't have to pay into the system. So if you want to keep your insurance, or if you don't care about, paying into the system, you're like, okay, I'm not going to pay into it. The problem with that is that it allows it to fail, because unless everybody's in, you're not going to be able to see it succeed, and it's going to create this whole like complex system where some people have Medicare for all, some people don't, and she's making it out to be like, oh yeah, by my third year it's going to be fine, everybody's going to see how beneficial it is. No, it's going to be a mess because you need to have everybody pay into it. And so that is a full-on adoption of what Pete Buttigieg did. And somebody on Twitter, and I don't have it now, did a whole comparison with the words Pete Buttigieg used and with Elizabeth Warren used, and they are exactly the same plan. So how dare she talk about, oh, Senator Sanders and I, Medicare for all? How dare she even go there? And how dare people continue to support this person as a progressive? I'm done. I'm appalled that people aren't even are still defending her.
Fam, I have questions.
Is
option kind of similar to choice? I mean, you told me the difference is that a private option versus a public option, but why aren't people going crazy when Elizabeth Warren says option, but when Tulsi Gabbard says choice, they go nuts? Isn't it kind of the same thing?
Well, no, because Tulsi Gabbard clarified what she meant by that because she was using the term literally. She clarified not only on Jimmy Dore, but on other outlets, I believe on Rising with Crystal Ball, that it means single payer plus, which means everybody pays into it. So there's no it's an option to pay into it. It's like everybody pays into it, and then if you want to keep plan, there is something that I haven't seen the plan yet. It should come out soon. She's taking forever. I agree, she should have it out, but it's like a plan that includes Eastern medicine.
Yes.
Not just marijuana, but like acupuncture and other non-Western pill type of medicine. That's what a lot of her supporters like, and you are one of them. And I have friends here who are telling me oh, I wish I could have Eastern medication be covered because it's expensive and I can't afford it. And so I think that's actually good, and that's from what I know so far about her plan. But the most important thing about the difference between that is Tulsi's plan is similar to Australia, similar to what's in the UK, where it's a full single payer healthcare system, but people can add more to it, and they don't have to necessarily have the same thing. When I was reading a little excerpt of it, was extremely progressive, and again, I still believe Bernie Sanders's plan is by far the least complicated, the most straightforward, and the best, and that's his Medicare for all. But I would have to see Tulsi's plan to give my full criticism. But the most important thing is the difference between public option and private option. A public option means you can choose not to pay into it, which allows the system to fail. And
private
then
option's different.
It's gonna make it so people think Medicare for all is a failure, like the ACA. It's not gonna work. It's a half-hearted measure. We need Medicare for all, single payer. That's it. No questions asked. And so I'm really pissed at.
Well, I have another question, because you know how I feel about Medicare for all. I mean, everybody talks about it's the most important thing, and I'm not saying it's not important, but obviously I have a few other things above it. And when it comes to healthcare, Medicare for all, we know that whoever's elected president, whether it be Elizabeth Warren, Bernie Sanders, Tulsi Gabbard, they're not going to be able to just take their plan and implement it. They're going to have to go to Congress. They're going to have to whip votes, whatnot. So when it comes to Medicare for all or healthcare, the thing that I'm most concerned about is who's going to be in the room when the bill is actually written.
Right.
Do I have cause for concern for Tulsi Gabbard, who's going to be in the room? And do I have cause for concern with Elizabeth Warren, who's going to be in the room?
I mean, Tulsi Gabbard has said, we're not going to allow insurance companies to play a role at all.
What about the money she gets, though? Is she getting any money from them?
No.
Okay. Sorry.
Elizabeth Warren is getting straight up money from the insurance companies, and also her daughter's connections, as we've outlined on this show before. But also, let me reiterate your point about Medicare for all. There's only so much a president can do. FDR did a lot of things on his own because he took the actions. And the problem that he lacked was that he didn't have a movement. Bernie Sanders has a movement. The moment he says, I want Medicare for all, and he has said it in his first week as president, he's going to push legislation for Medicare for all. The moment he does that, that is where we come in. That is where the people come in, and you demand, you march to wherever you need to march to, you call whoever you need to call to. And I think because the movement of him being president, and because of the excitement of that is going to be a completely different shift. It's going to involve more people in the political process, which is what someone like Morales should have done, is have successors, right? We're creating here a movement. This movement is bigger than Bernie Sanders, and that's the way you push for Medicare for all, to the point where they can't do anything until they pass it.
Well, do you think there's going to be some pushback, though, from libertarian-minded people who do want their insurance, who do want the market open? I mean, don't you think that once they get and sit down at the table that there's going to be some form of compromisation as opposed to just getting completely what we want?
I mean, there is a transition period. Under Bernie Sanders' plan, the transition period is 4 years. And he specifically outlines, like, the first year would be certain age bracket, the second year, third year, and so on. So there is a transition period that there has to be, right? Jayapal's had a 2-year transition. But the fact of the matter is it doesn't matter. It's not about, you still have the choice to keep your doctor. Like, it's not about choice at that point. It's about not having compassion and greed, because you're still going to save more money. You're still going to end up saving more money. So the arguments against Medicare for all, even while I've been canvassing, people don't know how to argue against it. They just have this idea that, well, it's invading my freedom, it's invading blah blah blah. But that to me is like bullshit, because you're still free to pick any doctor you want, and if you want to add supplemental things to it, you can. And I understand, like, Tulsi's option gives a little bit more on the Eastern type of medicine, which again I still have to see her plan, but I don't like, I think saying like, oh, I want my freedoms while people are dying because they're not getting the healthcare they need is a little bit ridiculous.
I think it's kind of weird too when people say, oh, I don't want to pay into something I'm never going to use, and if I want to keep the private option, but we pay into the freaking government federal
You're
taxes,
paying them all the
and they
time.
make weapons and bomb and do whatever we want. So let's just take and reallocate our tax money to over here so everybody wins. Jameson Doan, thank you for the super chat contribution, said, are you doing the debate coverage with Ron Placone and Graham Elwood? Unfortunately, they are in Australia. Fortunate for them, so they won't be here. But yes, ladies and gentlemen, we will be covering the debates live, streaming on Rockfin. Go over to Rockfin, sign up. It will be free to watch the debate again. We just need you to go over there, open an account, and guess what? Rockfin now has an iOS app. Not on, what's the other one if it's not iOS? Not on Android yet, but it's on iOS. Fam, you got to help me out. Okay, boomer. And Rocky Bellinger said he almost laughed when he said he saw you say, okay, boomer, on Twitter. Now, I heard there was like a kid in the class who made a joke, and he got belittled by the teacher for saying "okay, boomer." Can you kind of explain the "okay, boomer" to a Gen Xer like me? Well, thank you for calling me a Generation X instead of a baby boomer like you always do.
I don't call you a baby boomer.
You've done it a couple times.
Baby boomer, okay, no, because Ron and I make fun of you for learning to use Twitter. Hashtag Pasta Learns Twitter that was Ron, by the way.
Shame, Fiorella. So tell me what that means real quick before we go into the next thing.
Okay, boomer is just like this little hashtag that the Gen Z, like Vanessa's generation, my sister's generation, came up with when they're making fun of like the stupidity of some of these what they call baby boomers. But it's more of about this, like the elitist mindset of how like these people call this generation and the millennial generation lazy, entitled, like selfie loving, and they're like, yo, you hurt the economy, man. Like you're killing us. We don't have years to live. We're all gonna die soon, you know. And then it's like, this is their conversations now. They're like, hey, yeah, but I'm gonna be like 25 and I'm gonna not have, you know, breathable air. And so they started posting hashtags okay boomer for anything a person of that age group said, but it more turned into something like not necessarily about an age group, but about like the stupidity. Like, first of all, Joe Biden is from the silent generation. He's not even a boomer, and neither is Bernie Sanders.
He's a traditionalist. Yeah.
There was this meme of like okay boomer and an okay boomer versus an okay boomer. Like Bernie Sanders an okay boomer, Joe Biden is hashtag okay boomer. So it's like
I kind of get it now.
They're both not even boomers. So it's not even about how like old they are. It's about like how like out of touch and like, you know, like how you're paying attention. Like, stop calling young people lazy.
Yeah. So if they say your generation's lazy, you're like, okay, boomer.
Yeah.
Is that what? Oh, see, you know, fam, why don't we have classes on this? And ladies and gentlemen, tell Fiorella and Johnny Tsunami to have classes to explain the memes and all the stuff that's going on right now and help the old generation people out like myself, okay? Making fun of the old people over here. Johnny, you got anything to wrap us up with? Anything to finish on up, Johnny Sue?
Oh, I wanted to show that there was I'd say, you know, we were talking about earlier in the CADEM convention that you know, Bernie had a lot of support.
The most.
Mm-hmm. And who'd you guys think came in second?
Well, I mean, we saw a lot of Buttigieg people. We saw a lot of Warren people, but I think Yang, the Yang gang, and we'll see in the video when Yang came walking into the room, I was going, Yang gang, Yang gang. We were having some fun. What happened after that was kind of embarrassing. I'm sorry, Mr. Andrew Yang, but, I'd say Yang gang was probably second place when it came to support.
Yeah, and I actually took a video because I heard a group of them marching, so I just went quickly and out of the press box and took this video. And here's some Yang gangers.
All those Bernie people there.
Yang gang. So just to compare the other march,
Yeah.
Yeah, they are.
A good chunk of people.
Yeah, a decent chunk.
But definitely Bernie had a lot more support.
I saw some Warren supporters too, but there weren't that many. And they were like really snooty.
There were a lot of, there weren't that many Warren supporters, but I did see Warren a lot.
Yeah.
Dude, I mean, Andrew Yang is not a bad guy. It's just some of his ideas are a little bit messed up. I mean, I don't think his intentions are bad.
Think he's a bad guy,
I think that the whole UBI thing is kind of meant to really kind of twist the brain a little bit and get you thinking about how do we redistribute wealth in this country and whatnot. And the fact is he's saying, hey, just give it to people, give it to the middle class, give it to everybody out there. Let them ingest that into the economy. It's great. But fam, when you call them out on some things, it was kind of funny. And we're going to have all these videos up. Johnny's working relentlessly on them. He's not going to sleep tonight. We're going to lock the door and keep him down here until he's finished. It's like the little match girl. We do the same thing with Johnny. Don't come up until they're done, and we lock the door up there. But no, that's not true. But he's going to be working on it, and it's some great stuff, fam. I mean, nobody else got this stuff. People might put it out there. But once again, when I say that me and fam dominated this this press conference, this spin room, whatever you want to call it, and there was a couple other independent media people in there too who got some questions. It wasn't the normal press conference where it's CNN asking all the dumb questions.
CNN 2 questions.
Yes, we asked like 13 between the two of us. Literally, there wasn't a candidate that walked into that room that didn't get a question from somebody on the combo couch.
Yeah, there is. For me, Kamala Harris.
I got a question. No, I got a question from Kamala. I didn't get a question for Klobuchar. You did, right?
No. Klobuchar, that was Lauren Steiner, remember?
Oh, yes. Other than that,
yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Everybody else, Tom Steyer. And we really hooked up Tom Steyer over there with that 11-year-old girl. You know, dude, he was very lucky what we did for him. Everybody was screaming. I'm like, excuse me, this young girl has a question.
She was 11 years old.
Tom Steyer looked at her and was like, oh, my God, PR dream over here. Yes. And then she asked a question, how are you going to deal with homelessness? He answered it, and then she goes, can you answer it like I was for an 11-year-old, and he did it again. It was amazing. He goes, what we got to do is build houses, and it was just so awesome. For doing so, he gave us a question, too, as well. Mm-hmm. I didn't think Steyer was as bad as I thought he would be. I thought he was one of the better ones there. In fact, I'd say he did the best there in that press conference. But once again, the lack of knowledge when it comes to foreign policy hit him in the tutu.
Across the board.
Across the board. Except for Pete Buttigieg.
Fam.
He was the best.